Hello and welcome to League One Lowdown, brought to you by the Deck Football Network. I'm Callum, and joined, as always, on these preview shows, other than last week, it's my co-host Sam. How are we, Sam?
Oh, all good, my friend. It's good to be back with yourself on a preview show. It's been a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, and plenty has happened in League One. We've got a few news stories to dive into to get up to date with what's happened with the sacking season well underway. Noah Khan once said it's stick season. I think it's sack season, really, in the world of football. That's dad joke number one for the podcast. Let's strap in, boys. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get into the episode. If you are enjoying the podcast, then as always, make sure you subscribe to the podcast or follow us on Spotify or whatever it is that you're listening to us on. If you're watching us on YouTube, especially, hit that subscribe button and like the episode. Really helps us more than you can imagine, and share it with a friend as well. Something to talk about in the build up to the match. And the other thing that we have to talk about, which, let's be honest, I don't really want to after this week. It started off ever so strong, but is the predictions league, Sam? It's not going too well for myself the past couple of weeks.
No, I'm delighted by this. I told you, eventually stats will catch up. And last week was finally the week it all kind of clicked into gear for me. So the new total is I'm on 86 and you're on 96. You've still got a nice 10-point lead. But it was the first match week that I've won where it's like not 1 or 2 points. I won by 10 points last week. I got 16 points and you got 6. I got 4 correct scores, 3 correct outcomes, with one of them outcomes being the wild cards, that gave me 2 points. And then yourself got to be fair to you, you got 6 correct outcomes. So half the games you still predicted
I was actually
the
all
correct
right.
team.
Yeah. Just no
so
scores
in the grand,
correct.
while the points difference is large, in the grand scheme of things, you did still okay with the outcomes.
Just one of them, innit? Things change quickly. I am sure I'll bounce back. Maybe this week, although this week, as we'll get into with international fixtures, not as many games on the cards. That's a topic for a little bit later on. But as I say, Noah Khan sang and sack season is really in full swing. We've had 2 departures in the last week or so, haven't we? Luton Town have pulled the plug on Matt Bloomfield, and we'll talk about the ramifications of that and what that means in a little bit. But I think the thing that really struck me, I saw this a lot underneath the post announcing the departure, it was the right man at the wrong time. I think he will be remembered quite fondly at Luton, albeit the results weren't great, but he came at the wrong time when the club need a strong personality almost to kind of hit them at the backside and just say, lads, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it needed a full rebuild, didn't it? It was a losing culture when he went in last season, and it's very difficult to break out of a losing culture, regardless of when you come in, if that makes sense. And then obviously the summer, they lost key players, and if you look at the quality they brought in, nowhere near as good. Then he's got to adapt them to the level. He never knew his best team. He never knew his best system because of injuries and whatever. Individual errors have cost them quite a lot. Obviously, Elijah Adebayo being injured, Seb Jones being injured hasn't helped them. But that's why you have a squad of players at the end of the day. And Luton do have one of the biggest budgets in the league. Like, we're talking a Premier League club 2 years ago. I know a lot of their parachute money is going on to the new stadium. But you've got to focus on what's going on the pitch at the end of the day.
In hindsight, is it easy to say that this was probably quite a predictable sacking? We just probably didn't have the foresight to see it. Maybe we were naive in thinking Luton would be all right this season. We didn't really draw the parallels to Huddersfield Town that seemed quite apparent this year.
Yeah, we didn't learn our lesson, did we, from last year? Like, predicting a team to finish really high when there's not been massive change. If you're sitting in 12th with 1 win in your last 5, you're always going to come under fire, especially with the way they sort of ended last year. There was a chance they could have actually stayed up on the final day. His record, like you say, I think he is the right man. Like, you look at what he did at Wycombe, for example, on a much smaller budget. They signed all these players in January, or just in January, and it's all gone to pot since he's gone. So it was kind of the managerial change didn't work out for Wycombe in terms of they got Mike Dodds and were terrible, and then they sack him, and it didn't really work out for Luton because they didn't stay in the Championship and they're mid-table in League One. In his 33 games in charge of Luton, 12 wins, 7 draws, 14 losses. which is a 36% win rate, and you compare that to what he had at Wycombe. Obviously, had a trophy final in that as well. He had a 48% win record. So maybe if Wycombe waited another couple of weeks, they might have got Bloomfield back as well.
Well, it's interesting to see where Luton go next, and some of the names linked with that job currently aren't necessarily managers that I would specifically say are that style or the type of character that we think they need. Jack Wilshere, who by all intents and purposes was a very promising player. We don't need to talk about that, but very minor in terms of coaching experience. I think it's fair to say not had too much. He had a stint as interim at Norwich. Luke Williams, who has never actually managed in League One, I don't think. He had spells at Swindon, Notts County, before jumping up to Swansea in the Championship. So never actually managed at League One level, which again I don't think is necessarily good. Alex Lawless, the poison chalice that is Russell Martin. Currently, I can't see him getting a job anytime soon, and then you're into the likes of Gary O'Neill and Richie Wellens. They're the more standout candidates, and what frustrates me about this whole ordeal is I think they've sacked him. They've sacked Matt Bloomfield without really much of an idea of where they're going to go. Like what impressed me about Wycombe is they knew the direction they wanted to go straight away. They saw someone available and went for him. Out of the people that are being linked, and they are only, links and whatnot, but none of them seem particularly impressive for the job that needs doing there.
No, I totally agree. Like, you look at Jack Wilshere, like you say, a very good coach by all accounts, highly rated when he was at Arsenal.
Is he a manager though?
Is he a man? It's a very, like you say, a very different between being a number 2 and a coach to a first team manager. Never had sort of a rub of the green, so to speak, as a permanent manager, which is a problem. Luke Williams, by all accounts, he's a similar style manager in terms of the way they play football. It is a front-footed attacking football. But is he going to give someone a kick up the backside? I don't know. Russell Martin's definitely not going to do that. He's just going to go and slate you in the press and talk about rotations and possession all the time. Alex Lawless has come through the coaching system there. So the arguable one that they could get is who we're going to get onto in a minute with Blackpool is Ian Evatt. He would kick him up the backside.
Yeah.
Richie Wellens would obviously kick him up the backside, but I can't see Wellens going for a sort of a sideways move at the moment. Obviously signing a 3-year contract as well kind of rules him out, I think, going anywhere unless it's to a club in a higher division. But so if I was Luton, do they go rogue and go and get Steve Evans?
That would be very... But dare I say, and this is very unlike me to say this, that feels like the type of, maybe not style of play they need on the pitch, but off the pitch. That feels very much like what they need. Someone who is very robust and just says... Because I often draw parallels with the two clubs that I know very well, Lincoln and Boston United. They're the two clubs I work with quite closely. And like, take Graham Coughlin, who I think is linked, by the way, with the Blackpool job for some stupid reason. That's I don't know. But he's very robust in his man management. That's the one that comes to mind. He's very... Players know where they stand with him. There is no in between. It's very black and white. And that is what they need at Luton. They need to realise that League One is not Guardiola ball. It is very much, you're in the fight here. You're in the doldrums compared to where you were 24 months ago, guys. Like, let's be real here. You've got was it Neil Warnock who once said you've got to die to get 3 points?
Why don't they just go and get Big Neil?
Yeah. Well, do you know what I mean? But they could do worse, is what I'm saying. That's the manager they need, not a very nicey player, or player manager, I suppose, because Jack Wilshere's barely just come off the pitch, hasn't he? That moves us on, I think, nicely to Blackpool, which is, as you say, Ian Evatt is the one that is very heavily favourite. That's just behind Richie Wellens. It'd be a return, wouldn't it, for Ian Holloway? He's third favourite, which I think would be quite frankly remarkable with Charlie Adam as well. Which I'm all here for that character arc, to be honest. Just for the scenes that would bring, the pure Barclays nostalgia. I spoke about this at length on the review show on Sunday. So head back to that episode, scroll through the feed, and watch that. Hit subscribe as well. Watch you going back to listen to my thoughts on the sacking of Steve Bruce. Sam, I'll let you unload your thoughts about it. I thought it was inevitable, and it was just the kind thing to do, really.
Yeah, 100%. So by all accounts, Blackpool should go and get someone like Alan Pardew or Tony Pulis if they're going to follow that sort of arc of just getting. I'm going to use the term dinosaur managers in inverted commas because that's what people know them as now. Managers who have managed at a much higher level, won numerous promotions, but it just kind of their way of playing has gone a bit old school, so to speak. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And by all accounts, it works in the middle part of last season with Blackpool when we thought, oh, hello playoffs, and then they kind of just petered off. Summer spent a lot of money, did some good signings, and it's just not worked, is it? He's been there just over a year. We thought he would go in the last international break because that's when they sacked Neil Critchley last year. 21 wins, 19 draws, and 21 losses, a 34% win percentage, which is better than what he had at Newcastle and West Brom. So I think that'll be Brucey's last job, to be honest now.
Yeah.
Unless he does like an Ian Holloway redemption arc.
Yeah. Punditry would be great. But
Punditry would be very good. Yeah. I think Ian Evatt is the most obvious one, ex-player. It's similar sort of style to Bruce, but he'll play a back three, which I think suits the personnel that Blackpool have a lot more. So if I was Blackpool, I'd just go and get Ian Evatt. Wellens is obviously heavily linked. He's heavily linked every time a League One or Blackpool job is available. He's just the obvious candidate because we're a smaller club in the division with a smaller budget. But his family settled, to my knowledge, down here in sort of the East End. So just sign a new 3-year deal. So yeah, I don't have any issues with Wellens.
I think it'd be interesting to see what direction Blackpool go in. I think they've gone down this trail. I think Ian Evatt would be good. I would like to see a younger manager take it in a different direction, almost similar to, dare I suggest Lincoln, how and Orient. To be fair, you imagine if one of the clubs that had more money took the approach that a club like Lincoln and Orient do, where they're clever with their money and actually spend it wisely. You imagine how far ahead teams like Blackpool, who feel like they're quite mid-table, maybe upper half in terms of the finances they've got. I would like to see them maybe go for a younger manager, maybe the likes of a Jack Wilshere. I feel like maybe these two roles, these two odds should be like switched around. I feel like the type of manager Blackpool should be going for is a Jack Wilshere. The type of manager that Luton should be going for is an Ian Evatt. But I feel like maybe, let's be honest, there is probably something there. Hence why they are linked and favourites. You mentioned Orient there. Some exciting news for them of a proposed new stadium, which I think is an interesting one, because I would say out of a lot of the clubs in the division, they aren't necessarily one of the teams I would associate with heavily needing a new stadium. You talk of the likes of, dare I suggest, Port Vale. A lot has been made of their stadium. Even I know we've just had a new stadium, but Lincoln City themselves, it's hardly a fortress of modernity as the LNER stadium, I think is the phrase. So what would you make, Sam? Obviously, you're the Orient fan on the pod. Exciting, but also as with stadium moves, proposed stadium moves, we should say, there's always that tinge of sadness, isn't there?
Oh, 100%. We've been playing at this Brisbane Road since 1937. I think they have tried every sort of possible way to extend the capacity to 12, 13,000 on the site, but for reasons that I won't get into in here, they can't build on the south and the north stand. There's flats behind one of them and there's housing behind the other. They can't knock the east stand down because of the housing behind there, and there's just been a new block of flats and behind the main west stand, so they can't do anything there either. So the most sensible part is to probably go find new grounds. It looks like Waltham Forest have finally allowed us to find like an area. The council obviously have helped as well. MPs have been involved, but one I'll pick out is sustainability is at the heart of the project. So all our hopefully solar panels we move from Brisbane Road to the new area. They're looking for a 2031 sort of launch to mark the 150th year of Orient as well. The only thing I really hope the stadium isn't is a soulless bowl like every single modern stadium is. Like, you go to Jamie said it last week, like Luton, for example, while the ground's
falling apart,
it's history. Like, these are old school football grounds that people love to go to. Like, ours have got big pillars on the east stand, like they're proper football grounds. And with a lot of modern grounds, I'm sorry, Jamie, I'm going to use Doncaster here. Doncaster, you got the round bowl. West Ham, I've been to Brentford's. It's in literally a housing estate underground near enough. There's so many examples of modern grounds that, while they look lovely, like there's going to be other leisure events there and stuff like that, which will bring more income for the club in, which is great. I just don't want it to be a soulless bowl. I want it to have some character, some quirkiness. Like on the Orient, I don't know if you've ever been to Orient, but on the east stand, you've got like a triangle with the word Leyton Orient in it. It's not centralised to the stand. It's to the left, which is, I find really funny. So as long as the ground's got some sort of trademarks of the old ground and has a bit of character about it, I'm all for it. Like, at the end of the day, if they want to get into the Championship, you're going to need a new ground to compete for revenue reasons. So yeah, it's an exciting time. With what we're talking, 6 years. So hopefully we're not in League One, and hopefully we're not in League Two or below.
With these like new stadiums, I think you have to be very careful, don't you? Because there's like, we've seen with the Man United proposed stadium, as much as people will criticise it for being ultra modern, there is no way you can't say that it doesn't look stunning. It looks absolutely incredible, and that's the thing with modern stadiums, when you've got the facilities to make it a destination space in itself, like Wembley Stadium and whatnot, with its arch and stuff like that. It's very easy to make it wanted to go to. You want to go and visit. Whereas with things like, at this level, and even with like the likes of Brentford, when you're making a new stadium, you want to have all those bells and whistles of it being lovely and whatnot, but you don't have the capital to make it a destination space in itself, do you? So it will be interesting. I think, like you say, it has to be renewable, those sorts of things. That's just the world that we're living in, which, is probably for the best, given all sorts of things in the background, climate change, blah, 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 blah. We can go on. I will be interested to see what it goes like. That's, I'm talking as a Lincoln City fan. There are very, very tentative agreements for a new stadium for the Imps, but we're talking in decades' time. But basically, all they've done is there's a new housing estate that's being built that has space for a proposed new stadium in it. That's genuinely the level that we're at in terms of Lincoln City. So that I'm one to talk that it is a dream, and but it's exciting, isn't it, as a football club, to have that own investment in your own area, and if you're local to the stadium, that sort of thing. It's interesting, and fair play to Orient if they do get that open for the anniversary as well. What a present.
Yeah, I think with the alienation of top level fans as well, a lot more people are going to their more local clubs in the lower league. So there is
Which is important.
Yeah, 100%. And there's that perspective of having a bigger fan base because of the alienation at the top level. Now people are now kind of filtering down. Like, I'll use Spurs fans as an example. Spurs fans, mainly their second team is Orient.
And to be fair, I will probably alienate some people by saying this, and this might annoy some people, but the fans that probably make the club a lot of money aren't necessarily your die-hard fans that go in every single week. It is your average fan, and they won't remember, if they see a stand that's falling apart, they will probably think that's a bit tacky and they don't want to go again. When they see an ultra-modern stadium, they're probably quite impressed by it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what gets them to come back. So
exactly,
you're going to impress some people, you're going to disprove some people in new stadiums, and that's kind of how it goes. We'll look at the one early kickoff in League One, and by the one early kickoff, I mean it kicks off at 2:00 because of I think, is it with Northampton kicking off at 2:00? There seems to be a relatively common occurrence as well. It's rugby, isn't it?
It's rugby, yeah.
It's bleeding rugby, man. So Northampton against Rotherham is a 2:00 kickoff, which will please every single person. So I hope either people doing the 3:00 challenge enjoy their trips to Northampton or Rotherham, because does that technically count, or is it I don't know. But Northampton against Rotherham, where do we stand on this? Northampton, they've been all right, haven't they? I think.
Yeah.
They've not been anything remarkable. They've probably been a bit better than we expected, but I will say they are 5 points ahead of the relegation zone. So if you're playing the preview show bingo cards, get your shot glasses out, because I've just said that Northampton are 5 points above the relegation zone. They face Rotherham, who are really having a season to forget, aren't they? In the drop zone. No real sign of improvement other than that 2-2 draw against Bradford, but even then they let a 2-goal lead slip. It's poor, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought first half Rotherham were actually pretty good as well. Big concerns around their away form. They've only obviously scored 9 goals this season in their 10 games as well. They haven't won away from home. They've lost all 5 of their away games, scoring 2 and conceding the 9. Where on the flip side, if we look at Northampton Town's home form, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat, only 1 goal conceded at home. Kevin Nolan has got this machine well-oiled, well-organised, and incredibly difficult to beat. If they've got everybody fit, you wouldn't want to go to Sixfields, let's put it that way. Very physical, which seems to be a trend with... I spoke with Jamie about this last week. It seems to be a trend that if you look at the teams at the top of the league, you've got Stevenage and Bradford, physical sides. Very well organised, very well regimented. Cardiff are the exception up there, but they have so much individual quality. Lincoln and then Wimbledon, sides that you'd associate probably with a bit more directness about them and a bit more physical sides, like Lincoln, for crying out loud, play 4 strikers up front and just in a different way. So extremely physical sides seem to be the trend in League One this season instead of rotations and tippy-tappy football. So yeah, I've been mightily impressed with Northampton to be mid-table with a budget like theirs, for example. It probably is the second smallest, I'd say, behind Wimbledon. I think Wimbledon are probably the only club with a smaller budget. I could be wrong on that. So yeah, they've had an exceptional start to the season. Kevin Nolan's doing wonders, and then Rotherham have just been dismal. I don't have any other words for Rotherham. But if there is any positivity to come out for Rotherham, if you're big into your head-to-head records and you believe that sort of thing, Rotherham have won the last 5 meetings between the sides and have 1 defeat in 11 against Northampton, and they have 4 clean sheets in a row against them. So if you're big into that, Rotherham may actually get 3 points this weekend.
Which, to be fair, wouldn't surprise me. This feels like the type of game that Rotherham would just show up. The issue with Rotherham, and I'm gonna, let's pull out the Michael Owen playbook here. They're not scoring goals, and they're conceding a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're going to lose football matches. Straight out of the Michael Owen playbook. But
That is.
At the end of the day, football analysis can be really complicated, and we can bring in stupid stats. But at the crux of the matter is for Rotherham, they don't have the ball, and when they do have the ball, they're not scoring with it, and they're putting it in their own net, or they're letting teams put it in their net. They're 21st in terms of average possession, which usually we would use as a marker for who are the better and the worst teams, but Lincoln are well below anyone else with 38% possession. So what does that stat mean anymore these days? I wonder where it goes now for Rotherham. Because surely they can't be a League Two side. This is really? I don't know. In terms of score predictions for this one, make sure you head over to our X. That is where you can find all of our predictions. I will drop this one with a let's go 1-1. I can see this being a very tight affair.
I've gone 1-0 to Northampton. And if you do love if you're a regular viewer, you know I love my expected points table. In terms of average expected points, Rotherham are bottom. They're bottom of the league. 0.79 average points per game.
They're just not doing anything with the ball. When they have the ball, they just don't do anything with it. I think that's the big issue with Rotherham. And I think most people would fancy playing them at this point, albeit I've predicted a draw here. So that's useful. Let's go to our fan feature brought to you by our friends at Sky Bet. And we're going to talk about our players and managers of the month. Now, as we're recording this, I think it was a couple of hours ago, that the shortlist for Manager of the Month and Player of the Month came out. Graham Alexander for Bradford City, Tom Cleverley for Plymouth, Darren Moore for Port Vale, and Michael Skabala for, of course, Lincoln City. The Players of the Month nominated are Devante Cole for Port Vale, Jack Marriott for Reading, Joshua Neville for Bradford City, and Harvey White for Stevenage. Sam, we'll start with Manager of the Month. We know the curse, so which team are you cursing to have a very poor October? And who is your Manager of the Month for September?
My Manager of the Month is Graham Alexander. wins over Huddersfield and Cardiff, 3 wins from their 4 games in September. I think mightily impressive what they've achieved in the first sort of 2 months of this season. Like we're over a fifth of the way through this season already. And what they've achieved in such a short amount of time is really impressive. And even if you look at all the statistics, they're still up there. Like sometimes you can look at these teams and they're right down there. Like teams that I'll use. Who shall I use as an example? Just use Wimbledon as an example. They're currently 6th, expected points, and based on all statistics, they should be 12th. Stevenage, who are up there, they're 13th. So even by the raw figures, Bradford are exceptional. And you beat Huddersfield and Cardiff.
Yeah.
Kudos to everyone.
I think I'm going to call out the nominations of Tom Cleverley and Darren Moore. I think they've been very average. Darren Moore, I can sort of see. Port Vale, with obviously we know that they're not the most well-backed team in terms of resources, and to win 3 on the trot against Exeter, Mansfield, Barnsley, and then to draw. Obviously, that's October, so disregard that. But drew with Northampton last time out is all right. But they are still 16th. You know, you can't do it purely off where they are in the league and whatnot. But you know, you talk about Michael Skubala, who had an unbeaten. He was unbeaten in the league in September. Obviously, he's nominated. I think Alex Ravel not being nominated for Stevenage, I think sucks. To be honest, I think he deserves a nomination, and Johnny Jackson as well for Wimbledon.
Yeah.
I think personally, I know it's very boring to have those 4. The managers of Wimbledon and Stevenage, obviously, in addition to Bradford and Lincoln as the 4, that's 4 of the top 5 managers nominated in the division. But when you think about the teams that are up there, you wouldn't expect the likes of Lincoln, Bradford, Stevenage, and Wimbledon to be in the top 5. So I think it sucks that at least 2 of those teams are not nominated. I think that would be my choice, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit facetious.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about Alex Ravel, is they only played 3 games in
probably
September, because one of them was postponed, and obviously their game this weekend against Peterborough is also postponed, which probably doesn't do them any favours in terms of the way they're building that momentum at the moment.
Yeah, I just think it's one of them, especially Johnny Jackson. I think that's a bit mean. Player of the month. Any noticeable miss outs for you here, or players you think should have been nominated?
Keylor Dunn, I think, is the obvious one. Mason Burstow, I know he scored a lot of goals in October, but he had a very good tail end as well to September. But my player of the month, I've gone for Devante Cole. The impact he has made, not only in terms of results at that football club, I've gone on record and said they lack a goal. If you get Devante Cole firing, he's one of the best finishers in League One. 3 goals and an assist in his 4 games. He's been instrumental to why Port Vale have now started to pick up results, and Darren Moore's nomination for Player of the Manager of the Month. So if they can keep Devante Cole fit and firing for the whole season, Port Vale will be absolutely fine. So that's the reason I've gone for Devante Cole, not just because of his impact on the pitch, but also the whole sort of feeling around the whole club has sort of now changed.
Yeah. I like Harvey White as a nomination. We were talking before this, and we'll get on to how this conversation came up. We think midfielders aren't often talked about, are they? Especially midfielders that don't score. Harvey White, 3 corners, 3 assists from corners, and a free kick against Orient, which I'm sure went well with you, Sam.
Yeah, long range from the edge of the box, and then 2 assists, both from corners in the same game. Yeah, delighted.
So obviously, I quite like him. We were talking about players that we thought missed out. I think Lauren Tolash has been really good for Plymouth. I think he was an easy nomination. Dare I suggest Conor McGrandles? I think his September was remarkable. We know he doesn't necessarily have the underlying stats in terms of assists or goals, which is probably why he's not there. But I think you only had to see with Lincoln's first match in October. He's missing through injury and Lincoln lose. I know Skapala said probably not a lot to do with it. Conor McGrandle's absence, not a lot to do with it. But I think it's very easy to see why he is a bit of an unsung hero in League One at the minute. But that is our fan feature brought to you by Sky Bet. Let's move on then to the remaining games. Stockport against Blackpool, managerless. Blackpool sitting 23rd, Stockport 7th in the table. Stockport looking to carry on their unbeaten run. 4 games so far. Draw, win. By all intents and purposes, that means this should be a draw. But I'm gonna back Stockport. I think here, Sam.
Yeah, I back Stockport as well. What scoreline are you going for?
I reckon this will be an easy 3-0.
3-0, okay. I'll go for 2-1. Stockport won both the meetings last season, but prior to last season, they actually hadn't met each other for 19 years as well.
Oh. I think we've been quite critical of Stockport this season based on what our expectations of them were. I think maybe they are just slowly building and will go into that form that we saw for the majority of last season. I think they'll get back to that.
I do agree. I do agree. Was why there wasn't mass overhaul. The players they did lose, some of them were very key depth players, if that makes sense. And you get a couple of injuries, the new players have actually got to learn. So, we expect County to be in the playoffs at least, don't we, at the end of the season? And their form is slowly starting to pick up, and the stats do back that up as well. So, yeah.
I know we spoke about Bruce and the sacking earlier in the episode, but you do wonder, no manager, is there going to be a bounce there? But we are getting to the point in the week where, because they've not appointed anyone to our knowledge, the impact that said manager is going to have is probably going to be limited.
Yeah, knowing our luck, this is what happened with your recording at the weekend, didn't it? Luton immediately sacked Bloomfield after you'd recorded. So no doubt that by the time this episode goes up, Blackpool have appointed Ian Evatt as manager.
Or Richie Wellens, and you're going to be crying.
Yes, I will be. I won't be here next week if that happens.
AFC Wimbledon against Port Vale, 2 sides that we've been quite full of praise of in this episode, and for good reason. Wimbledon have won 4 on the bounce, and you look hard pressed to bet against them in this one. The home advantage, we know how crucial that has been to them this season. They are sitting 6th, so actually one place worse off in the home table than they are in real life. So maybe home form is a myth. I'll back Wimbledon here, but I'll go 2-1. It'll be quite a tight game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Port Vale are actually quite decent away from home, and again they don't concede many, only 3 goals in their 5 away games. Conceded, and I think they've got that momentum now behind them. Wimbledon are very strong at home. The last time that Wimbledon won was in 2016, so we shall see.
There was a lot of draws, wasn't there, last weekend?
There was a lot of draws, which is why I did so well.
Yeah, maybe we should go back to predicting draws. So that's Wimbledon against Port Vale. Burton against Bolton, the first of 2 alliteratory matches this weekend. I think there's Wigan. Is it Wycombe as well, the other one? But Burton against Bolton. Burton 2 unbeaten, which by their standards is remarkable. Bolton seem to be getting... As soon as we think that they're building, they lose a match, don't they? That's the thing with Bolton. We're looking for consistency from them this season, and going to Burton, maybe not the best place to try and build that, is it?
No, and it's not really a ground you want to go to, considering what Burton just did to Cardiff as well. In terms of they just sit back, they very well organised and a little smash and grab. Bolton won the last meetings between sides 2-1, so if that has any bearing on it, who knows? They now have the top goal scorer in the league with Mason Burstow as well. But to be fair to Burton, 1 defeat in their last 4, albeit 2 draws in that time. Their major concern, obviously, as we expected, losing Burrell and Bodvarsson is scoring goals. Lowest scorers in the league. But this has the potential to be a real banana skin for Bolton if they don't rock up. They've got to rock up and not do what they did when they went to Northampton, because this is a very similar type fixture. So I'm hoping they've learned their lesson, because I've backed them to win 3-0 and then I've wild-carded it as well.
Have you looked at the away table since making that prediction? You realise that Bolton are yet to win away from home this season.
It's going to happen this weekend.
They've picked 3 points up on the road, all of them draws, 2 defeats, sit 19th. In the away table. You're going against stats. To be fair, Burton Albion sit bottom of the home table with just 1 win all season. So this sucks. One of them's going to have to lose there thingy. I'm going to go. I don't want to back Burton because I feel like I messed up last week, but I'm going to back them. I'm going to back Burton 1-0.
Obviously, you're going for the old snatch and grab again.
Yeah, why not? I don't know. I'm partly. I just think Burton have got that, haven't they? I think that's the kind of team that they're building into, almost like an Exeter were last weekend against Lincoln. So they're the most annoying type of team to come up against. Leyton Orient against Doncaster. Sam, I'll let you have this one. Doncaster not on the best run of form.
No, not Orient though. Exactly the same. Carbon Poppies in their last 4. Both have 3 defeats and a draw in their last 4. The only thing I can back Orient with, performances wise, are actually okay. It's individual errors and mainly that are costing us. Like, we should have beaten Cardiff. I think if you ask most Cardiff fans how the hell we're 18th in League One, they don't know. We should have beaten them. Like, injuries haven't helped, which doesn't mean Wellens knows his best team. Worst defence in the league, 22 conceded. But going forward, happy as a daisy. It's a complete opposite of last year. Like, this time, we've scored double the amount of goals this point in the season than we did last year. But the goal difference is the same because our defence is just a mess, quite frankly, at the moment. And injuries don't help with that. But for Doncaster as well, it's not going like they sort of had that momentum swing, didn't they, at the start of the season? And now they've lost a couple. That momentum now dwindles, and the players start to question if they're actually good enough as well. No winning for 11 scored and 12 conceded as well. So they don't score as many, and they don't concede too many either. And Orient's record against Doncaster is less than fruitful. 2 wins in the last 13 meetings. I always remember when I was growing up watching Orient Doncaster, a certain Billy Painter always scored against us, or Billy Sharp, and Billy Sharp is still there. So, but I will back us to win. I think performances are getting there, while Doncaster are kind of going the other way, if that makes sense. We're getting performances, not results, where Doncaster aren't doing either. So I will back Orient. We won't keep a clean sheet because we don't keep them. So I'll back us to win 2-1.
Do you know what? I can see that annoyingly, but I'll go 1-0. I think, 1-0 Orient. Thing is, none of these games I'm particularly confident in wildcarding, especially given my current stream. So I'm going to leave it for one of these last 2. I've not thought this through yet, so we'll get to that one. Exeter against Reading. It's 17th against 19th. Exeter, of course, putting an end to their winless run or losing run with a win against Lincoln last time out, annoyingly. Reading, 1 win in their last 4, albeit they have picked up 2 draws in that time as well. That 1 win coming against Sam. Leyton Orient. Yeah, there you go. for audio listeners, Sam waved.
Charity FC.
Charity FC. Wouldn't surprise me. I think this is going to be a relatively, I don't want to say drab affair. I can't see neither team scoring much. I want to go 1 apiece and wild card it.
Ooh,
they're both average about Reading average about a goal a game. Exeter average a goal a game. Reading concede 1.5 a game, and Exeter concede pretty much 1 a game. So I'm going by the law of averages and going 1-1 here.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do for this game. Like, Exeter are poor at home, 2 wins and 3 defeats. Reading have not won away, but there is signs, especially going forward, that Jack Marriott can fire them somewhat up the table. If I was to pick, I'd probably go 1-1 as well, but I'm going to pick a team to win, and I'll go Reading to win 2-1.
Will be interesting to see who comes out on top there. And the final game, Wigan against Wycombe. That one probably going to be bottom of all the alphabet charts, isn't it, really? Let's see how this one goes. Wycombe, 20th. Slight uptick in form since the new manager's come in, but not great. I think there's still a bit of embedding of philosophy to do there. Whereas for Wigan, no win in the last 3. Their last win coming in the 13th of September, so 4 weeks ago now, against Doncaster Rovers. Sam?
Yeah, I've been disappointed by Wigan. I thought this year would be the year they sort of kick on. Really good manager. Lots of attacking talent now brought in. But the biggest, I think, criticism of them is their defensive record, isn't it? Like 16 goals conceded, nearly half of what they conceded in the entirety of last season, with not much change defensively, really. It's just mightily disappointing. But Wycombe are just terrible. Like I listened to Michael Duff's interviews. There's a lot of players whose egos seem to be getting the better of them. And if you look at the team selection, especially for their last game, which they drew against Barnsley, and they showed some character to come back from 2-0 down. Now, if you look at the players he's selecting, lots of EFL experience now. So the players they bought in January, like the ones from Denmark and places like that, like and the summer, for example, like Bradley Fink, Van Sass in goal, they're not playing them now. Duff just went, no. They've come from big football clubs. They could be that sort of, this should be a doddle for us. We're at these really small grounds.
Not how it works, is it?
Not how it works, no. So I think that's why he's gone back, and it'll be really interesting with January. Well, January's 2 months away. It's around the corner now.
It's going to be a clear eye on it.
It's going to be chaos. That is going to be the old football manager. New manager comes in and just gets rid of absolutely everyone. So it'll be another overhaul for them in January. For this game, though, I've gone 3-2 Wigan. I've gone for Wigan nearly averaged 2 goals at home, and Wycombe are a bit of a mess, quite frankly.
You're going to go for the old chaos match of the week.
Yeah, there's always one.
Yeah. I'll back Wycombe, maybe, to get a smash and grab. I'll go 2-0.
2-0, okay.
I think, I don't know, I don't know if you can tell, not convinced by myself either. So we'll go with that one. And that wraps up this week's episode of the League One Lowdown, bringing you all the latest news and predictions and opinions in League One. If you did enjoy this episode, then make sure you hit subscribe, like the video as well, rate it on podcasts or wherever you're listening to us. Thank you very much for listening, for watching, whatever it is you're doing, and we'll see you very soon.